Hi all, welcome to another video session. In this session, we will be seeing how we can do auto provisioning of SharePoint sites using Power Automate. Now, auto provisioning of SharePoint sites is one of the productive tasks that we can set up in any organization to reduce the number of server tickets raised with IT for site provisioning. We can set up a Power Automate to get this done and build some additional functionalities like applying out of the box or custom site templates, which were previously called site designs, to the created site to add a layer of additional functionality. In this video, we will see how we can leverage Power Automate to auto-provision communication sites by creating a list item entry with the basic site information and apply an out-of-the-box site template to the newly created site. Now, considering the business use case, we have a requirement where we need to disable the create site option in the SharePoint start page. So we can see that there is a create site option here, which lets the end users to create site, and this can actually lead to the end users creating a site just for random purposes without any business justifications. So we want to disable this create site option for which we will head over to the SharePoint Administration Center and settings. You do have a site creation option where you can just disable the let users create sites from SharePoint start page. Click on save. It will take a couple of seconds for it to get reflected. So this way we will disable the create a new site, which otherwise will appear in the SharePoint start page. So we'll just go ahead and do a quick refresh. And we can see that the create site option has now been removed. But now there could be situations where users want to create site. And we want to bring in an automated process to do that so that even without involving the IT team, we can actually create sites. So to do this, we have created a SharePoint list called the site creation wizard. And we do have columns like site name, site description, site template, and site address, which will contain the information that the user would want to use when he wants a site to be created. The site template column will be a choice field, which holds the value of the site designs, which can be applied on top of a communication site. Now, crisis management, department leadership connection, etc., are some of the site templates which are available that you can apply on top of the communication site. We will now head over to Power Automate and we'll create an automated cloud flow, which is triggered when an item is created. We'll just connect to the SharePoint site and we'll also mention the site creation wizard as the list name. The next step will be to create a variable that will hold the site template IDs. We'll just name it as var template IDs. We'll make it a type as object, and the values would actually contain the key value pairs of the site template and their corresponding IDs. The rationale behind storing this key value pair is that when a user selects the site design name from the choice dropdown, that is the dropdown that we did see here, it contains like crisis management, department, leadership, connection, showcase, healthcare, etc. So when the user selects one of those values, we need to get the corresponding ID because we will be using the ID to provision the site in one of the Power Automate actions. In the next step, we will initialize another variable that will help us get the user chosen site templates ID, which we have already created as a key value pair. Now we will use an expression to get the corresponding ID of the selected site template. So as to index into the where template IDs, which is actually an object, we will use this expression where we will be trying to index into the variables where template IDs, which is basically the object that contains the site template name and IDs. And to that, we will index the trigger output's site template value. So if we can actually go down a bit, we can see that the trigger output has multiple values that is being returned from the SharePoint list, and site template value is one of them. So site template value will obviously be some text like department, crisis management, etc. And you will just pass on that value as an index into the object. So if it is a department that the user had selected, when we index into the object, we will actually index using the department and get the corresponding ID. So same way if it is crisis management, we will get the corresponding ID. And we will save that into the new variable, which we will call as the where site template ID. The next step is to send an HTTP request to SharePoint, for which we will give the name of the admin center, where we'll be creating the SharePoint site. Then we'll use the post as the action. And then the API that we will be using to create the site is the underscore APIs SP site manager / create. And in the body, we will be giving the payload, which will be used for the post request, which will contain the title, URL, LCID, which indicates the language, the description of the site, then the web template, which we'll be using, which is basically a communication site. Followed by that, then we have site design ID, which will be the design ID, which we have selected from this object based on the selection that user makes in SharePoint list. Finally, we'll also have the owner email ID. So let's go ahead and save the flow, and it's time for us to trigger this automatically by creating a SharePoint list item in the site creation wizard list. So let's head over to the list and we will create a new item. And the site name will be demo site. We give the site description as this is a demo site, and the site template will be a showcase template. And in the site address, we will give the address as demo site, which is basically the text that will come as in the URL as /site/demo site. So we have given without any space, and now we have clicked on save. Let's head back to Power Automate and see if it has been triggered. So we can see that the flow has completed successfully. Let's go inside and see the output of the send HTTP action. And in the raw output, we can see the status code as 200, which indicates a successful site creation. So let's copy the URL which we have used for the site creation, and we will just hit it in the address bar. We can see that a demo site has already been created with the showcase template. Same way, like we can apply different other templates as well to the newly created sites. So this way we have seen like how we can automate the creation of a SharePoint communication site using a SharePoint list in Power Automate, and at the same time, post creation of the site, how can we apply a site design or a site template on top of it by choosing it from a selection of site templates within the SharePoint list item. Now this automates the site provisioning process without the involvement of IT department. We just have to give the correct permissions to the people who need to create the site within this SharePoint list, and they can go ahead and use the SharePoint list item creation process to create an item which will capture the details of the site, like the site name, description, the site template, and site address, which is basically the name that has to become up in the URL, and provision a SharePoint site using Power Automate. So this is one handy productivity hack that we can implement across organization. We will come up with more of such scenarios where we can see Power Automate in action. So thanks all for watching, and see you soon in another video.